it's just so special for such our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeahthedees, where I'm going over our round 23 win up at the Gabba, or whatever they call it, in Brisbane on the Friday night, where we just absolutely smashed them. This review will come across a bit differently because as I've come to the AFL's website, this is what it gives me for the page. Like, it's just absolutely nothing. I click on the game and I've got absolutely nothing. So I guess I can only just use this. And that'll do, I guess. Usually I start with the news, and there wasn't too much Melbourne news during the week other than 6 players making the AFL 44 squad, and Cozzy and Luke Jackson made the 22 under 22. So that was pretty fantastic to have 6 players make the All-Australian squad. I think at least 3 will get in, and probably 4 really deserve it. I think Oliver and Petrarca are definitely locks. Stephen May is a hot chance for full back, and I think Angus Brayshaw will be very unlucky not to get named on the half back. I think Jack Sinclair or Adam Sard will get favoured for those roles, even though I definitely believe Brayshaw has been better. Gawn and May will have a little bit of a battle to get in. I think Jared Witts has probably been a better ruckman this year. Sam Taylor's been fantastic for GWS, but so we will wait and see what the announcement is. Let's get into the teams. So I'm able to get this page up, which is at least good, so we could see that Christian Salem was a late out for Jake Bowie. And how fantastic is it just to have someone like Jake Bowie ready to come in and take the slot? And he played a very serviceable game. He's a great quality player and wasn't bullied off the ball too much or anything like that, even though Dane Zorko tried to slam into him pretty early, the absolute rat of a bloke. James Harms played a great game coming in and pushing James Jordan to be the substitute. So let's get cracking into the game. We really couldn't have started a footy game better. We absolutely smashed them out of the centre with the first one. So I really enjoy seeing Luke Jackson start the game in the ruck. The first 2 contests were phenomenal. He was able to help get the ball out, and we got straight centre clearances into the forward line, which ended up with a goal, and the second one was pretty close. With Cozzy kicking the first goal of the game, it means if you take that one and the one he kicked against the Blues, he's kicked 2 goals in like less than 36 seconds of game time, which is pretty fun. Jacko looked on from the get. Looks like he wanted to have a really good 50th game, and he did. He played his 50th game along with Trent Rivers, who was also from Perth. Early on in this quarter, Ben Brown ended up being right in the back line at full back and took a good intercept mark. It was surprising to see him back there, and this really shows how much we've gotten back to our eyes and hands and doing handoffs. Like for Stephen May or a Jake Lever to really trust Ben Brown to go behind the ball, I thought was fantastic. Also early on for Bailey Fritsch's first goal, it was a great lead and mark. It's something that we haven't seen a lot of in the last few weeks, is leading up to the ball and marking, and we saw plenty of it in this game. The Brisbane defenders seem to have a bit of issue handing off and chasing, and that was able to give our forwards an extra 1 or 2 seconds to get a lead and be able to take the mark and have a good shot on goal. After the Fritsch goal, then Brisbane got their only goal for the first quarter through some Lachie Neale brilliance that Danaher was able to mark and kick from the 50. Lachie Neale played a fairly decent game, even though Angus Brayshaw got the job on him. By the end of the quarter, Angus Brayshaw had the most disposals with 10, and he was 4 ahead of Neale, who was the only Brisbane player I would consider in that first quarter having an impact. Dane Zorko tried to have an impact, but not really. The absolute grub of a bloke. The Viney Neale incident was a bit of a laugh when he took him over the boundary line and gave away a free kick. I thought that was a pretty soft one, but Jake Lever's goal was great. His reaction to it was fantastic. There's so much joy on his face for kicking a goal, and he just absolutely roosted it. I felt like the 50-metre penalty was definitely well deserved. He held him up, and he also kind of went into his back after taking the mark. So take your pick for the 50 metres, but yeah, definitely there. You know, Ed Langdon and Cozzy Pickett also get other goals in that quarter. Some good forward work, some good running and space. Like, it just really feels like we flicked the switch and we're able to just get our game going. Like, absolutely just there was no chance they were getting back into it. And we really see that we have our culture back, we have our mojo back. And that was on display again in the second quarter when we had an even better quarter than the first one. But this is the Dees that we want to see. It's the Dees that are clean inside 50, leading and taking marks, and then converting, and we were able to put 6-2 on the board to 1-1 in the first quarter and 13-3 to 2-3 in the second quarter. The second quarter started off really well, even though Brisbane were getting a chance early with Lachie Neale kicking it in, but Hibberd was able to spoil on the line after the kick, and I really loved the way that Jake Lever went up and acknowledged him, gave him the fist bump and the pump up, and that's just great culture stuff. That's the stuff that you want to see on the field, is our players putting the energy into high-fiving and rewarding people. It's good energy, good for players' momentum. It helps release serotonin and dopamine in the brain when you're playing like that, when you're acknowledging and giving fellow players a bit of a tick with their efforts. And when they get that reinforcement, they're gonna keep doing it because they feel good doing it and they get the energy to keep running it out. Cozzy kicks his third goal in this quarter, and we get a flash over to Jared Berry's ankle, which had like a tennis ball attached to it almost. I can't believe they didn't sub him out there and strapped him up and got him to run out on that ankle. Like that was disgusting and just absolutely perplexing to see that ankle like that. I also noticed in this quarter there was a contest where Dane Zorko went for the ball and Harrison Petty clocked him over the back of the head. Now, this was way before the comments that were made, and I won't repeat any of the comments or anything like that because Harrison Petty didn't want this to go any further. He accepted the apology at the end of the game, but I don't think that's good enough. I think Dane Zorko as a captain really showed he's lowering his colours because he's not able to get the job done on the field. It's been a downward spiral for him in games over a short period of time, but he's definitely not the player he was 4 years ago. And how can you have an idiot like that representing your club and leading your club? Like, he's an absolute coward, Dane Zorko. Like, these bravado tough stuff was really, really weak. He was never tough in the contest. He was just tough trying to be tough in the in-between moments. Like when he got taken in the rundown tackle by Ed Langdon and then popped him into a headlock. How that wasn't 50 metres or reportable is beyond me. Like, you just can't be putting people in headlocks and then pretending that you're not. Like, it was just really, really bad form by Dane Zorko and bad form by the umpire not to be stricter on it, because it just encouraged his poor behaviour on the field because he was getting away with it. And that's something that I'd actually like to point out, is that's how you change behaviour. Because look at how Toby Green went this year. He didn't get reported once because he got rubbed out for 4 weeks for running into an umpire. If they didn't do that, we would have had the same Toby Green bullshit in every game again. But he's been taught, you can't do this. You can't do it because you're going to get punished, and now people stop doing it. There was the run of Jaden Hunt in the second quarter, which I was very impressed with, running from the back flank across to the opposite forward 50. Absolutely incredible to create that option, and that's where we really show a difference in the way that we play compared to the other teams, because we run so much harder to create those options. Real shame that his kick didn't come off inside 50, but he was probably pretty exhausted from it. I believe it was because his fourth goal, James Brayshaw said he showed some disco candy, or showing some disco candy before he kicked it. So was that just James Brayshaw's way of saying ecstasy? Because isn't that what a disco candy is? It's just a pill, or some MD or something like that. So yeah, just interesting call from James Brayshaw to say disco candy, and it really pricked my ears up. Christian Petrarca's goal in this quarter as well. He got 2 really ridiculous bounces for his 2 goals, and it's just like, it was just our day with the effort that we were putting in, and you get what you deserve in footy a lot of the time. Good kicking is good footy. There was an example of the way Ben Brown is leading. So he was able to kick a couple of goals after having his face absolutely smashed in by Cam Rayner. Definitely an illegal tackle. He swung him and pulled him over his leg to take him off his feet. And then his face smashed into the ground and he ate absolutely all of the grass. I thought he had a facial fracture because of the bruising he had across here and across here. I was like, man, that has to be an eye socket or a facial fracture or something, because it popped up straight away. And when you can see visual bruising and blood rushing to the surface so quickly, it put fear in me that he was done. Like, I was like, man, he's going to have a face fracture and he's done for the year. Like, he was able to come back on to take a bunch of great contested marks and kick some goals. But there was also, when he's being contested by a lot of defenders, he will just put the one arm up and get the tap down. So he ensures that he doesn't get intercept marked on. So at least the ball comes down to a 50-50, and it was actually able to come down and get a goal through the milkshake. So at half-time, we were 13-3 to 2-3. It's one of the best half-time scores I can remember in recent history, especially against a fellow top 4 side. Because if they got the win, they would have been sitting in second, possibly third after Sydney's win. I can't remember exactly what percentage Brisbane were on, but they're a good side this year still. We just happened to beat them twice. At halftime, both teams had 26 forward entries, and we had kicked 13 goals and they had kicked 2. So that just showed how much better we were at going inside 50. We're going at 50% rate, where our normal average is 22%. So that was really helped by winning contested possessions by 13 in the half. Yeah, with Christian Petrarca kicking some wild goals, Cozzy Pickett kicking 4.5. Now, the second half was a lot slower. We were kind of just pulling back a little bit and just playing a little bit more defensively. We already had the score on the board to win, so we were just running the game out. The example of that is really just only kicking 1 goal 3 for the last quarter to Brisbane's 3 goals. I was a little upset that they got a few more at the end because I was really freaking out that we'd need the percentage to stay in second to beat Sydney. But thankfully, St Kilda were able to keep them to less than, I think it was about 40 points or 50 points that they needed. So yeah, very happy that St Kilda were able to keep them down, and we get to play them at home. From here, we get to play every game at the MCG from here. If we happen to lose, we will still play at the MCG and then go on to play the winner of either Collingwood or Geelong, and that would be at the MCG. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is we win this, and then we will play whoever comes through from either Geelong, Collingwood, Western Bulldogs or Fremantle. So that will probably be a Geelong or Collingwood. I'd see one of those two sides probably coming through to that end, depending on who wins the qualifying final on the Saturday night. Now the stats on the game is also not working, so I'm just going to have to look at my phone and kind of read through it. So it was a game that we had on our terms. I really feel like we're living rent-free in Brisbane's head. We have the wood over them quite easily, and they just can't stand up to the pressure that we put on, even though we put more pressure on in both the Carlton and the Collingwood games. Efficiency inside 50 at the end of the game was 52% compared to 33%. Our disposal efficiency for the whole game was 74, which is nice. Brisbane actually just beat us in disposals, kicks, handballs, and inside 50s. They had 8 more inside 50s than us, but we were just able to take intercepts and turn it over. They also had 6 more free kicks, but we beat them in hit-outs, clearances, and stoppage clearances. They were a little bit better in centre clearances, but a lot of that happened later in the quarter or when Lachie Neale was coming out with the ball. They marked a lot more, but they were also stuffing around with it, which helped us be able to turn it over. We led the whole game. We had 1 more tackle. It was 53 to 52, which is around the AFL average. But Brisbane had more tackles inside 50, but that's also they had 8 more inside 50s, and we were able to get them out. 1 vote to Jake Lever. I felt like he really helped set up well behind the ball, had some really great intercepts, and also a fantastic goal at the start. Jake Lever had 9 intercept possessions. Gave 2 votes to Trent Rivers, who I felt had one of his best games of the year, has really come into form and solidified his spot. Gave 3 votes to Cozzy Pickett for 4 goals in the half, 4 of our first 9, and also 4 out of the first 11 of the game. Gave 4 votes to Luke Jackson. I thought he was phenomenal in the ruck and great around the ground. He was marking very, very well. Gave 5 votes to Christian Petrarca. He had an excellent game around the ground, 23 disposals, 16 press strikes, 10 contested possessions, 2 goals, 1. Christian Petrarca had 10 score involvements. And then I gave the 6 votes to clearly the best on ground, Clayton Oliver. 30 disposals, 20 contested possessions, 29 pressure acts. Clayton Oliver had 13 clearances, 3 onside 50s. Onto the VFL now, and I can actually show it, but unfortunately it was our first loss for the year, our only loss for the season in the VFL. The Lions got up by 14 points. Because I was travelling to Brisbane at the time, I didn't actually get to watch this game, but I was in the Brisbane Airport Virgin Lounge waiting for a transfer whilst the entire team rolled in. So that was awesome. I got to meet Mark Williams, Alan Richardson, Adam Uze, Troy Chaplin, and had a quick chat with them and got some photos. I left the boys alone because they were just getting a feed and getting ready. And they had just lost their first game for the year, so I didn't know much about it. But yeah, had a look at a few highlights from here, and yeah, just a fairly even game, a contested game that just didn't really go our way. But Jacob Van Rooyen kicked 4 goals still out of 8, so he kicked half of our goal score, which was not bad. So when it's all said and done, we've finished second on the ladder, 2 games behind the Geelong Cats, which I'm really not that upset about because Geelong got to play West Coast and the North Melbourne twice. So there's their 2 extra wins. We've had a much harder draw. We've played everyone in the top 8, I think 11 times, all up, so that's 7 teams, 11 times. And we still only lost 6 games for the year, which is very much in my window of acceptable. I was thinking 4 to 6 losses for the year, not knowing when they would come through would be okay. And I said a couple of videos ago, I think we'll win 3 out of the last 4, and I wasn't sure which one we would lose, and that came to fruition as well. So we end up going 10-0 out of the first games, and then 6 wins and 6 losses out of the back 12, with a very, very difficult draw. I'm very satisfied with the results. I think the only game we weren't really in was the one against Geelong. I feel like they just controlled a lot of that game, even though we were in it up to our eyeballs at half-time. But I felt like they controlled that whole game down at Cardinia Park. The rest of the competition has definitely caught up to what we are and what we are doing. And Sydney and Collingwood and Geelong, are, in my opinion, are really the only threats. Richmond should get the job done against Brisbane in the finals, and I think Fremantle will get the job done against the Western Bulldogs. Carlton miss out on almost the exact amount of percentage that we missed out on in 2017, so I do feel for them, but also after getting Cripps off and then losing both those games, losing their last 4 of the season, you get what you deserve in footy, and they don't deserve to play finals. They panicked and couldn't lock things down in the last 2 games against us and the Pies, and that's just footy. That's how it is. Same with St Kilda. Also not good enough. You can't win 3 out of your last 12 games and expect to play finals. Port Adelaide started with 5 losses as well. So you're just not going to play finals like that. There's a lot of teams here that did have some easy draws compared to us, and we're still sat second. So if you're a Dees fan, whilst you might not be happy with how exactly all the games went, or we didn't put some teams away further, the results are good enough. The results are satisfactory. I'll take 6 losses in a season any day, any year. I'll be very, very happy getting 16 wins a year. So that's where we sit. Finals are on its way. We've got a bye week, which I think sucks, but that's just the way that it is. T-Mac's going to be playing in the bye week in the VFL, which is kind of cool. We also ended up playing Sydney in finals for the VFL as well, which is really, really funny. After we finish on top, they finished 4th, and yeah. But yeah, as I was recording this, Cam Rayner's going up to the tribunal, so I'm not too sure yet what happens with that, but I hope that it sticks to a 1-week ban, and then yeah, Richmond should probably get the job done over them. So that's my thoughts on the ladder. What should I do yet next week for the off week? But I'll probably make some sort of video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to my thoughts and commenting on what you thought about the season as we go week to week with these reviews. It's been really fun doing a season week to week for the first time on Yeahthedees. So I really appreciate anyone that's watched. And yeah, let's smash these finals and go back to back. Thank you for watching Yeahthedees.
And it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.